Welcome
Aloha.
to Aloha. Welcome to the Intuition Manifesto Q&A Master Class. Thank you for joining. So happy and excited to see you guys. Terry and Karen Ogden, Terry Huber from Hawaii. Karen Ogden, where are you joining us from?
I am in McLean, Virginia, so right outside of DC.
Oh, beautiful. I love Virginia. It's so green. Thank you for joining us, Karen.
Thank you.
And then we have Lauren Gerlain. And Lauren, you're okay, she's connecting to audio. And we've got Jan that just entered as well. Her audio is connecting as well. Hi, Jan. How?
Hi there.
Oh, wonderful to see you, Jan. Jan and I have taken some vibrational medicine and a different type of neurosomatic certifications together. She's an ER doctor, and I'm so glad you're able to make it.
Good to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to being with all of you tonight. I've got some really cool, exciting information to share with you guys. And so we're going to get started here in just a minute. Want to give Lauren a chance to get her audio to connect. I see that it says that it's connecting, so we'll give it a minute or two. As you guys know, you guys were part of the early adopters and you purchased your book during either the pre-launch or during the book launch phase of the Intuition Manifesto. So I want to thank you guys for that. And because of that, you guys are some of the benefactors of the Intuition Manifesto gifts. And the first one is this particular Intuition Manifesto Master Q&A. So we've got a lot of good juicy things here. Hopefully we'll have time to cover everything during this call. So Jan, where are you? Whereabouts in the country or the world are you?
I'm in Oklahoma City.
You're in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so we've got Hawaii, we've got Virginia, we've got Oklahoma City, and Lauren. Hopefully Lauren will be able to connect to her audio. Maybe she can type in, if you can hear us, Lauren, maybe you can type in whereabouts. I think you're in Gary, Indiana, if I'm not mistaken, if I recall. Anyhow, let us know whereabouts you are tuning in. So I wanted to thank you, first of all, for joining us here for the Q&A of the Intuition Manifesto Masterclass. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. There's a lot of exciting things that we're going to be talking about. This is the first of your bonuses, this Q&A. The second part of your bonuses is the Facebook. It's the Facebook group, which you have an automatic membership that's included as part of your bonuses. So let me tell you what you can expect to get with your Facebook membership. Right now, only I am in the group, so you guys will officially be given the link so that you can start to participate in the Facebook group. And there you're going to be able to network and mastermind with like-minded individuals. I'm going to show you my little cheat sheet notes here. You're also going to receive announcements of live Zooms, Zoom courses, some paid, some for free. There's the Q&As will always be free. We'll hold those about every month. I'd say 30 to 45 days we'll have Q&As. And then we're going to have different Intuition Manifesto master classes. We're also going to have the book. We've got already scheduled a book club reading and signing scheduled. I'll announce the date in just a moment here. But we'll have book club readings and signings. And also we've got another person joining us here, Elena.
I think we need to have a signing in Maui.
I think we do have to have a signing in Maui. I would love to do a signing in Maui. That would be fun to do a signing and a reading in Maui. So, yeah, so I will make a note of that. I'll have to set a schedule for that. In the Facebook group, where you're also going to be one of the first to hear about and have available to you the Intuition Manifesto meditations. As far as the Intuition Manifesto meditations, I'm going to share with you a brief list of just some of the ones that are going to be available very shortly here. And so this is a not a complete list, but a partial list. There's going to be the introductory intuition manifesto meditation. There's also the accept, receive, embrace meditation. There's the recode, rewire, resync, open your heart meditation. There's also the recode, rewire, resync, unconditional self-love meditation. We also have one that's actually called the recode, rewire, resync, self-worth meditation, which I don't have written down here, but I know that that one's also going to be available. The other thing that we're going to have, in addition to the meditations, in the Facebook group, you're going to be able to share with, first of all, you're going to be with like-minded individuals. We're in-between manifestors in that group, and you're going to be able to share your signs, your symbols, your synchronicity, in addition to sharing your videos and your pictures of any time you have things that you want to capture and you want to share with your group. That will not only give you joy to share with the group, but also it encourages everyone else as they see you manifesting and they see you getting these different signs and symbols as well as synchronicity. See if I've got somebody else coming in here. What else? We also are going to, of course, whatever intuitive hits that you have, intuitive inspired actions, any intuitive knowings that you have. We've got Martha joining us here in just a moment. Okay. And there's going to be surprises also released in the Facebook group. So that's what's included in your Facebook membership. This one first, yeah. And then this one second. Basically just got done reading to you guys all those things. I have a lot to cover, so I had to write everything down. I'm a 3x5 card gal. I do everything with 3x5 cards. We already talked about the meditations. I'm going to show you the only one that I didn't write on here is the Intuition Manifesto, Recode, Rewire, Resync, the I Am Worthy meditation, which will be also announced in the Facebook membership. In addition, we are also rolling out your master classes. So the first one is today. The next one will be next Wednesday, same time, 7 p.m. And that's the Autobiometanosis Esoteric Intuition Manifesto class. This is a very, very cool class. I myself, when I experienced this, it was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And so we're going to take a full hour to go over that next Wednesday at 7 p.m. For those of you who have already completed reading the book, you know that on page 85, it talks about, thank you for reading this book, the Intuition Manifesto. And my free bonus to you for having read the book is you're going to get this Intuition Manifesto Autobiometanosis class. So that will be given to you next Wednesday. So I've been very mindful about having things be, you saw all the bonuses when you purchased it because they were all in bullet points. But, you can't eat an elephant all in one big bite. So I think it's important to roll things out at the rate of consumption that is more manageable. And so this way you get to enjoy all your bonuses and it's spread out over time. Okay, so that's the Autobiometanosis class, and that one is set for April 6th. Okay, so I'm going to provide you the link for the Facebook group here before we end tonight. And then you will also, in the next 48 hours, you will have, in the Facebook group, I will post a link for you to go to the Intuition Manifesto website where you can go ahead and you can register for the class. It'll automatically give you the Zoom. You will automatically receive a password so that you don't have to pay for the class because you bought as part of your promotion. You had the promo code O2222022. So you don't have to pay for the class. You just enter the code and then you'll automatically get in. So that's about the Autobiometanosis class. And then we have, I just want you guys to make note, set your Wednesdays aside in April because for the 6th, the Autobiometanosis class is next Wednesday, and then the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th will be additional Intuition Manifesto master classes. So I have them written down here as well. The 6th, the 13th, the 27th. And then we have the Intuition Manifesto Book Club. For those of you who are local to Southern California, or if you happen to fly into Southern California because you're here on business, vacation, workation, whatever you might be doing here, if you want to join us, we're going to be having a book club signing. I'll be reading the book as well as signing books. Someone is going to win a free copy of the Intuition Manifesto. I still don't have my hard copy covered books, so I'm still curious to see what my hardcovers are going to look like. Hopefully by the book signing I will have some hardcovers already in my hand. I have to follow up and track that on Amazon, see what my shipping date is for that. But nonetheless, we will have those that's the first book club that we're going to be doing, where we're going to read the book, and we're also going to be doing a book signing. And for those who want to grab either appetizers or dinner, we can do that at Duke's. For those of you who don't know, Duke's is in downtown Huntington Beach, right off of PCH. It's right at the beginning of the pier on the top level. Okay? So that's on the 22nd, which is a Friday evening. And we've got that set for 6 p.m. Plenty of time for us to catch the sunset, which is about 7-ish. All right. And I'm just going to repeat that because I know that Jennifer, who is just joining us now, she's actually an Orange County person. She's another fellow neurosomatic practitioner who has taken classes with Dr. Bravo and myself. Alrighty, so I think, did she make it in? It seems like maybe her connection dropped off. So, okay, so that's the book club. That's on the 22nd. And so I wanna, before we dive in deep into the actual question and answer section section of this live Zoom, I wanted to share with you what you can expect over the next several Wednesdays. This is going beyond what I'm about to share with you. This goes beyond the month of April. This is pretty much going on for the remainder of the year. There's a lot of content for me to cover. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what you could expect. So for the first master class after the autobiometanosis class, we're going to be going over mastering state control and clearing. We're going to go into we're going to be doing the PSMO. For some of you, you're already familiar with the PSMO method, but the PSMO method is a neurosomatic process by which you resolve and dissolve any anxiety, panic attacks, PTSD, any negative thoughts, feelings, or emotions that are looping in your left brain. It wipes it out. You automatically sedate your hippocampus on the backside of your head, and you also resync and relink the right and left side of your brain in the second part of the PSMO. And then the third part has to do with the lymphatic flush. We're touching some acupressure points as you bounce on the balls of your feet. We're increasing your testosterone, your will power. There's a whole lot of things that are going on in just 3 minutes. It's a very powerful tool. It's amazing. Even people who have been doing it just in their mind. I had one particular gal that was actually in ICU on January 5th as a kidney transplant survivor. She unfortunately got COVID, had trouble breathing, got hospitalized on January 5th, went on a respirator and went into a coma and had blood clots in her lungs. Let me fast track it for you. Basically, I had her husband hold up, he wasn't able to go in to see her in person because, of course, they wouldn't allow him in ICU. So I coached him, basically I guided him to tell her, even though Gwen was in a coma, I told Barry, make no mistake, she can hear everything that you're saying. So just have the nurse, when she gives you an update, have the nurse hold the phone up to her while she's, laying there in a coma, and she's going to hear everything. And luckily, in Gwen's particular case, she was already aware and familiar with the PSMO. And all she did was, I just guided Barry to guide her to do 25 long, deep breaths as slow as possible in a certain pattern. And of course, she was doing it knowing, because I told him, be aware that as you're doing this, she needs to know that the respirator is just keeping her from it's just supporting her to make sure she has a minimum amount of respirations, but she can still regulate her breath and she can still breathe in and inhale as slowly as she can, hold, and then exhale. And the rest, the ventilator is just going to make sure and ensure that she has a certain amount of oxygen and is respiring at a certain rate. So later she confirmed that she was able to, that she heard everything, and that's why she was able to do it just in her mind's eye. She clearly couldn't do, waving her hands or anything while she was in a coma, but she did do it in her mind, and 3 days later she came home on Monday, the 24th of January. And I have pictures I'll have to show you guys at the end of the broadcast. I'll pull them up and show you. I was so excited when they didn't video me the day that she came home from the hospital because she was very weak and she was very underweight. But about 3-4 weeks later, I got a video call from Gwen, who's very camera shy, but she gave me permission. Gwen said it was okay to take her picture, and then Barry's like, oh, you got to take our pictures both, and then I took his picture as well. So I'll share that with you guys before the end. So that first class, that is, I feel you learning to master your state is the key to your mastering your intuition. As you guys have heard me say before many, many a times, and I talk about it in the book, being in your right mind as opposed to your left mind. It's part of using the right side of your brain and being in your right mind. So that's the first class. The second class will be tapping into your alpha and theta state, and we're going to be doing an alpha and theta state meditation, and you're going to know what the steps are to make sure that you're not just in theta, but you actually go into the alpha brainwave state. Lesson 3, we're going to be going into intuicognition. That's a word, as you know, in the book I invented the word intuicognition because I wanted a word that involved intuition, but also enveloped the knowing, the gnosis that I knew that I had in that place, in that time space when I'm having that intuicognition. And so that is the best descriptor that I know to describe to you guys what it is that I'm experiencing and what I think you'll experience too. And it has to do with your inner vision, your inner hearing, your smelling and your sense of taste, but not the way we normally do in 3D. It's a different sense of it. I want to say that there's a certain aspect of it that has to do with your memory, but not entirely, because I think your recognition of, certain senses. We'll get more into it in this particular class, but we'll talk about that inner vision, the inner hearing, the sense of smell, the olfactory, and the gustatory intuicognition that you'll have. Lesson 4, we talk about your inner vision video tactic. We're going to tap into infinite source intelligence, your creative flow state, how you can use this for problem solving, and we'll go through different steps that you can take to activate that. Lesson 5, your Intuition Manifesto class, we're going to be talking about provisioning into your fixed time and now to fixed time and future pacing. So when we are in that 5D realm and you are tapped into your alpha, your theta, and then your alpha brainwave state, fixed time is a specific moment in time. And so one thing is to be in a fixed time in the past, which is a memory of things that have already occurred. Right now we are in fixed time, where this is defined by all of us as a fixed moment in time. You also have fixed time in the future. Oh, and there's Jennifer. I'll let her in. So you have fixed time also in the future. So part of what you are doing is you are reconditioning the body to a new mind, and you are actually bringing your etheric body, if you will, your energy body, and you're projecting it out into the future. Your brain doesn't sense time. In 5D, there's no such thing as time. However, we as 3D beings, we have a space-time continuum where things that have happened in the past are literally, our language even says, people will say, it's like, oh yeah, I put that behind me. So if you're still struggling with it, you're not saying, well, I put that behind me. So when you look at your proprioceptive grid, you look at the way your brain is in a 360-degree sphere as you move through time and space. There are things of the past, which are a fixed point in time. You have the now, which is a very fleeting moment, but is the most powerful point in time is this now, because you can affect the past, believe it or not, and you can affect the future. And so as we don't want to get hung up with the past. We'll clean up, through this Intuition Manifesto class, you will clean up certain things in the past so that they're no longer baggage, they're no longer hindrances, they're no longer blocks to you. But more importantly, we're really interested and excited about what your intuition is going to bring in and what you are intending to manifest in the future could be 2 weeks from now, 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 90 days from now, 6 months from now, 3 to 5 years from now, 10 to 15 years from now, 20 to 25 years from now. I think it's important for us to have targets, and these targets or these goals or these dreams that you have over these different timelines that I just mentioned, I feel that those are the things that pull us towards them. So if you don't have, one of the things that I do in healing, when I do a private session, before we meet, I tell the person, okay, what is it that you want to, what's your goal in the next 2 weeks, the next 30 days, the next 60, 90 days, and so forth. I have them go through those different timelines, and they just write down in very simple words what it is that they expect to do. And everybody knows that it's a working document. As you start to accomplish those things, sometimes much faster than you anticipated, you can amend those. Maybe your consciousness is now expanded where now you have the vision and the encouragement of new possibilities, and you're like, oh, I want to add this, I want to add that, or I didn't realize that I was going to, so quickly be pain-free, so quickly get rid of my hospital bed, get rid of my walker, get rid of my cane. Holy cow, I really might be able to drive across country in 6 weeks where I wasn't even walking a few weeks ago. So your mind, your brain is like a stealth bomber. That stealth bomber is attracted to the target because there is a target set for that stealth bomber. So just as an arrow is drawn to a bullseye, that stealth bomber, your brain, is the stealth bomber, and it's going to hit those targets. You have to have a hard target to hit. If you don't have a target to hit, then the best that you'll have, which is pretty awesome, I might add, the worst case default would be you just have a profound sense of peace, and you'll have creative flow without execution. So I think most of us here want to have the creative flow, and you want to take the inspired action, and you want to start to cross off these wonderful, fun, exciting, playful, cool experiences. So that is the lesson 5. Lesson 6, we're going to go into heart and brain connection. We're going to open up your heart, open up your brain. Lesson 7, we're going into the accept, the receive, the embrace, meditation and hypnosis, the art of letting go, how we're going to play, pretend, and make believe to make that happen. Lesson 8, we have the I am worthy coding. It's a resistance removal protocol as well. I'm sorry. Lesson 8 is the I am worthy coding, and then lesson 9 is the resistance, that'll take a whole hour, the resistance removal protocol. So we're going to reset your GPS, we're going to reset your goals, rewire your mind, resync your brain, relink your body, and renew your heart and soul. Okay? I've got a couple bonuses here. I'm going to leave those as surprises. I'm going to mark them here. I love surprises, can you tell? Okay, so you'll have some surprises. Then the next section is you're going to expect the unexpected, discover your right mind's complete access to infinite wells of knowledge. Lesson 10, you're going to make better choices, uncover exciting opportunities. You're going to tap into the inspired flow of the creative state of being. You're going to embrace gnosis. By this lesson, without a shadow of a doubt, you're going to know that you know that you know. You will have been testing your intuition on a daily basis so often, so effortlessly, that you're just going to know, without a shadow of a doubt, the difference between your thoughts and intuition. You're going to enjoy introspective imagery. And if you don't know what that is, you'll learn what that is at that time. Lesson 11, you're going to learn about the 3 types of intuition. There's seeing, there's hearing, and there's feeling. We're going to use the IMAX theater technique, And we're also going to, this is this technique that I'm about to share with you guys. I call it the iPad programming technique. It's iPad programming technique coupled with the magic frame. Dr. Jan knows what the magic frame is. So the iPad programming technique came to me intuicognizantly while I was doing a private session with a client. And since then, I've had the intuitive hit to use it with several other clients, and the results are pretty fun, pretty exciting. Great for healing and great for increasing your intuition as well. Okay, so that's lesson 11. Lesson 12, part 3 of this series. We have soul map recoding. See, you don't have to pronounce things perfectly all the time. Perfection is not required here. So we all make mistakes. I just munched that word. I don't know how I did, but I did. No big deal. Moving on. Soul map recoding. So desire, knowing, expectation, your targets. And again, we talked earlier in the coursework, we talked about how important it is to have your target, your dream, your goal. 2 weeks. Yes, as short as 2 weeks. I believe that you should have 2-week goals, 30-day goals, 60, 90 days, 3 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 30, 10 to 20 year goals. It's very, very important. So in that soul map recoding, there's a lot of cleanup that will have been done by the time we get to this point. We'll clean a few loose ends at that point, and then it's like crystallizing. It's almost as if you have this giant telescope and you're like fine tuning so that the image is perfectly crystal clear. So that's what we're doing in this soul map recoding. Okay. And then lesson 13 is we're going to go over the neurohealth reset. We're going to do color breathing. We're going to do self-care, self-healing, and also learn to start projecting our energy to use our intuition to help heal others. You may not have any interest in helping heal others, at a larger scale, but if you have a family member, heaven forbid you have a spouse, your, whether it's your husband, your wife, if you have a brother, a sister, a mother, a child, a nephew, a niece, a grandchild, a best friend, a neighbor, just a dear friend, and they're dealing with some sort of gruesome medical diagnosis or medical condition, you want to be able to do something about it and provide relief for them. So in this class, you'll learn how to do that and do it effectively and easily. And then part 4, which is lesson 14, is divine inspired actions. We're going to talk about your flow state, about a muse, intuitive hits, taking the reins of your personal power, Bluetoothing, and tapping into another's autonomic nervous system as well as your own. And then we're going to be doing some tactical dream state exercises, which are way fun. So that's about 14 weeks worth of content. There's more, but I think that's giving you a lot to be aware of at this point in time. So let's see. Jennifer, we gave everybody else an opportunity to share where they are joining us from. And let me see, I need to open this up. There's actually more people. There we go. Oh, we've got Martha also. So, okay, so we've got Jennifer who's joined us, and Elena and Martha. Let me take you in the order that you're showing up on my screen. So we already had Karen from Virginia, Terry from Hawaii, Jan from Kansas City. Elena, you're next. Do you want to tell us whereabouts you're tuning in from?
Yeah, hi Lillian.
Hello.
I'm tuning in from Canada.
Yes.
Yes, it's dark here, so that's why the light is a little. I just moved into a very remote area, so It's pretty dark around. I don't have blinds because the house is kind of brand new.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm tuning in from Canada, so I'm
Wonderful.
excited to be here.
We're excited to have you too, from Canada. Actually, Elena has a show called Rewired Inspired. I was just recently on her show. She's a wonderful radio show host, podcast host, and we have a little bit of a history also. We were in Profit Point 22, I believe, back in 2012, I think it was.
Yeah.
We had speakers, pitch builders, producers, and directors from all over the world came in. There was just 60 of us in LA, and it's a magnificent. I think it was a 15-day training. Actually,
It was, yes.
it was a very, very expensive, very elaborate training. So that's how Elena and I have been connected. So, and she's also a fellow hypnotist as well. So, thank you for joining us, Elena, and
Thank you.
part of and for reading the book and also participating here tonight. Jennifer, do you want to share where you are tuning in from? Let's see, get her to unmute. Can you unmute yourself, Jennifer?
Yes,
Now we can hear you. Yes.
I'm in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Oh, don't I wish I was with you? Nice and warm, Puerto Vallarta. Very cool. How lucky are you? Well, that's so awesome, Jennifer. Well, thank you for tuning in to
Oh, sure.
Intuition Manifesto Master Class. And then Jennifer and I also, she's a fellow hypnotist and neurosomatic practitioner as well. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
All righty. Now we've got Lauren. Lauren, where are you from? Let's ask you to unmute. Lauren? I don't know if Lauren can hear me. We're going to ask her to unmute. Martha, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Martha, if you want to join in and tell us where you're.
Hi, everyone. I'm in Boston.
Boston. Oh, fantastic. So you're
I
in
know.
Boston, Massachusetts, the East Coast.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Martha, for tuning in to the Intuition Manifesto Q&A and your bonuses. All righty. Okay, let's see. And Lauren, is it Lauren or Lauren? We'll find out. Lauren, I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself. If you're able to unmute yourself, why don't you can just raise your hand when you're ready, and then we'll go ahead and we'll take it from there. Let me take a quick glance at the time. Wow, first half hour is already gone. So let me go into, let's go over some of the question and answers that I want to start off with the questions that you guys have first, and then I'll go over some of the questions and so forth that some people have put to me in different Facebook groups and have private messaged me with. So does anyone here have a question in particular? Let me get my copy of the book. Is there any questions that you have, maybe if you want to start just general questions, or if you want to take a look at chapter 1 and ask me about things in there? This forum is here for you, so let me know what's a question that you might have.
So Lillian, I just received my book. So you're doing a class as we are reading the book, am I correct?
Yes, some people have read the book already, and some people are they're just beginning to read the book or are in the middle of reading the book. So we have people at all different stages. I have one person, I'm not sure if the person is on here or now, but I know that somebody read the book. First they read the ebook, and then they got the paperback, and now they're reading it again with new eyes. So everybody is a little bit different. So if you have a question about that, I can also.
No, I just received the book, so I just read the introduction. Okay. So I'm gonna go deeper. So there will be a class every Wednesday for 14 weeks.
Yes. There'll be a
Okay.
class. There's going to be a few breaks in there only because of Easter, and when we're in the month of May, I'm going to be traveling, so there's going to be a few Wednesdays in May that I won't have the class. And then I will be providing you guys, once you all go to the Facebook membership group, then I will be providing you a website link there where you can sign up for each one of the classes, and you'll see the entire schedule. But basically, it's all scheduled out on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time.
Great. Thank you.
As far as reading the book, I think it's always a good idea to first read a book. And whenever I want to master a book, I take a more hands-on approach that is a little bit more kinesthetic, and because I'm a neurosomatic practitioner, I always think about how your brain works mechanically. So I know that the more senses you engage, the more you embody the information. You don't have to memorize it, because then you start to learn it and absorb it at a greater level. So then you recall it because you're using multiple senses. So I always like to get the ebook and the paperback of books, and I take this process of, when I read a book from an author, the first time I read it straight through, and then the next time, because I'm applying it more like a textbook and I'm wanting to really absorb the information, then I read the book out loud, and I read it as if the author is having a conversation with me. So as I'm reading the book, I actually have two things. I have a black pen to write, have a conversation back with the author, and then I also have a highlighter, so that as I want to highlight certain aspects of the book, I highlight the book. If I hear that something really resonates with me, it's like, I just got the chills when you said that, or when I just read this, or I remember when, and I'll write in what I remember, or, oh my gosh, I just realized, I just had this realization. So I'm having a conversation with the author as I'm reading the book. And what that's doing is that as I'm reading the book for the second time, now I'm seeing it again with my eyes. As I read it out loud, I'm hearing myself say the words. I'm feeling my mouth articulate the words. I'm feeling as if I'm the author expressing this information. So I'm kinesthetically feeling it in my body, not just in my mouth and hearing it in my ears, but I'm kinesthetically feeling that aspect of it. That entire process helps me to retain the information, where I don't have to memorize anything. It just sticks more easily, so I'm able to embody that information. So those are some of the things that I do. And when I was back in 2017, when I got hit by an Orange County Transit Authority bus, after I was just 3 blocks shy of finishing a 16-mile bike ride. And so I suffered a traumatic brain injury, a C5, C6 injury, an L5 injury in my lower back. I also had a leg injury. For the first couple of years, I didn't even know that I had short-term memory loss. I was in denial I was unaware. I had total brain fog, couldn't even see very well. And it wasn't until the second year, towards the end of the second year, that I was starting to realize, wait a minute, my daughter can't be wrong 100% of the time. So her telling me that she said something to me and my having no recollection, it was as if it didn't exist. I started to realize it's impossible for her to be wrong 100% of the time, And so that's when I finally put 2 and 2 together, and I realized, oh my gosh, I really don't have short-term memory. And then when I would read a book, I could not remember what I had just read, like the paragraph before. It's as if I hadn't read it. So I had to do all of these things, as well as stand as I read the book, look into the mirror and read, aspects of it, looking into my left eye to trigger the right side of my brain to increase that blood flow. So I had to do all sorts of different things like that just to engage more of my body, to heal my memory, and to be able to absorb this information. So you can do any, all, or none of this. This is for you, so take it or leave it. I'm just letting you know what I know has worked for myself and what I know has worked for others. Does that make sense? Okay. So, Lauren, we can see you now. Do you want to tell us where you are tuning in from?
I am Gary, Indiana.
You are in Gary, Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Michael Jackson town, Michael Jackson.
say that again.
I
Say
said
that
Michael Jackson town, Michael Jackson.
That's the first thing I thought when I heard Gary, Indiana. I'm like, that's from Michael Jackson's MJ's hometown. Very cool, very cool. Well, thanks for tuning in and joining us today, and thank you for being a part of this group and also for buying and reading the book and getting all these juice bonuses.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. And yep, I love you. Got my book right here.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, do you have any questions that you want specifically answered?
No, not currently. I was telling Juan Juanito. I love Juanito. You shared this video in the dating group.
Oh, he's from
And
Canada.
yes, he is from Canada. Yeah, I was telling him he ordered the book, so me and him are gonna be going over it together. And I had a couple of my other friends are gonna order your book so we can go over it as a group. So
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, he just reached out to me yesterday. Actually, he reached out to me today too, and he was telling me he was binge watching a lot of my YouTube videos and so forth, which I thought was pretty fun, pretty cute.
oh yes, oh yes. So thank you so much for everything you're doing. I'm even if I don't comment, I'm digging in.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and start with like one of the questions that I had somebody just asked. I think it was just yesterday. They asked, "Can you just ask the universe for help, and can you get intuitive guidance?" And of course, you can do whatever you want. You can ask the universe for help, but in my experience, the more you are clear about the target. And I'm careful not to say the word what you desire or what you want. Because if you want something or you desire something, obviously that's your being is giving you an ask to something that you don't have in the now. So, but we have to be careful to not trigger the feeling of wanting, because you don't want to say to the universe, I want, let's say, a car. The universe goes, oh, you want a car? Do you want the feeling of wanting a car? Okay, that means that we're not going to give you the car yet because you want a car. Now, if your target is to have a car, we'll get you the car. But if you want a car, okay, how does it feel to want? So we'll keep the car so it's still always out of your reach. You desire the car, you want the car, and it's like, and you feel like you can never get it. I don't know about you, but once I had that realization that that's part of why in some things I would manifest right away and other things it still was out of my reach, then everything changed. So I think that when you can ask the universe for whatever you want. If you want guidance, of course, I think having, what do you want guidance for? Do you want guidance in your personal relationship? Do you want guidance about investing and maybe making more money, increasing your income in your job or in your business? Do you is your target to increase your health, your fitness? Is your having a clear intention? And I think that's really important. Having a crystal clear target, even if your target changes or morphs a little. Maybe you're thinking, I want a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. And maybe as you start to realize and start to look at 4-bedroom, 2-bath houses, you're like, you know what? I'm realizing that I would actually like that 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. I prefer it to be a 4-bedroom, 3.5-bath house. So I want a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house. And so you're getting more crystal clear as to what it is that you want. But being crystal clear as to your target, and that's why I say your target, your dream, your goal, whatever that end point is, be crystal clear about that. And then be mindful about having something that will follow thereafter. Have another target. After you have the target of, let's say if it's getting, maybe it's a new home, whether it's a home that's already been around for 10, 20 years or whatever, or if it's a brand new home and a brand new development. So you have the target, to have this house, And then the target is to have maybe a housewarming party, maybe 100 days later, 3 months later, 6 months later, whatever you feel comfortable that you'll feel settled in the house. Okay, 6 months after I've moved in, I'm going to have a housewarming party, and I'm going to host Thanksgiving for the family this year because I have a new home, and I'm going to also do a New Year's party. Whatever, but have some things that are beyond that initial goal, because you don't want to just have that initial goal. I just had someone recently who she had this big goal of buying this house out in inland California, and now she finds herself where she was really unmotivated and kind of a little lost. She got this big gigantic goal that she didn't think she could even get, and now it's kind of she had lost her mojo, and now she was kind of looking for focus and direction, and she was even now worried that she might even lose the house that she just got. And I was like, okay, that's because you don't have any other goals behind it. So be mindful about, as long as we're alive and we're fogging up a mirror. I always talk about the mirror test, and now I mentioned fogging up the mirror because I've had people who say, what's the mirror test? And the mirror test is just, if you can fog up a mirror, you have breath and it fogs up the mirror, that means you're alive. So as long as you're alive, you should have targets, you should have a goal, you should have a dream. Whatever word resonates. Some people like the word dream. It's like, okay, these are my dreams, these are my goals. Some people like the word goals, some people like targets. So whatever resonates most with you, but they basically all define a clear vision. So if you ask the universe for help, just say, okay, define your clear target. Because otherwise your default will be to just feel peace. And although if someone who is, very nervous, very much into critical thinking, OCD-ish, obsessive compulsive disorder type of, looping negative thoughts and so forth, to feel peace is a pretty big thing. And I think a lot of people right now just want to feel a sense of peace. And so if that is your target, then put that target. And then after you have a sense of peace and stability and of well-being, if you had that, what would you put as your next, what are the next goals that you would have, or targets that are in line? Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, Karen, go ahead.
The question, you said not to ask I want this. But how's an example you would ask? Is it show me how to get this, or direct me to this?
So like if your thing is that your target is to have direction, to have clarity, you're looking for clarity and certainty, and you want to know that you're moving in the right direction, right? So you don't want to be in the asking, because you're the center of, you're the power that is taking your consciousness and you're focusing it like a laser beam. So if you're throwing in asking, not having, like, your job is to figure out what's the end game, what's that target that we're trying to hit. If you're looking for more, like, you don't have to worry about the how. The how is going to come up. It will automatically bubble up within you. You will have a knowing. You will take inspired action. There will be somebody, you could be in the grocery line and somebody could be having a conversation behind you that is saying what you need to do next, not knowing you at all. And they'll say something that pertains to your particular situation. It's like, you know what? All you need to do next is A, B, and C. That's it. And you're going to go, oh my gosh. You're going to look back at them and go, I can't believe you guys just said that. I'm just in the process of creating this for myself, and you just said what you need to do next is A, B, C. If you want to say something to them, you can. It might be a nice little serendipitous moment for you both, but it doesn't matter. Whatever you're comfortable with. But you'll recognize the signs, the symbols, the synchronicities. You'll recognize the messengers that are around you. The signs and the messages are all around you all the time. You're getting them in 3D, and you're also getting them while you're sleeping, which is why we have an aspect of dream recall in here. dreamscaping. We also have a dream hypnosis that we also encourage you guys to do, that will just basically have you easily and effortlessly recall your dreams after you wake up, so you're able to jot them down and you start to decipher that and know. There's certain little basics that will teach you about unraveling your dreams and the emotional component to that, and how that's significant information. It's like lifetime biofeedback that you're getting. And so the number one thing, Karen, is for you to know what your target is, and then instead of being in the asking, you're commanding. Because what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I'm going to take my consciousness. This is the target of what I want. The how, I don't have to worry about the how. It's like, okay, I just know that this is my end goal, right? And I want to have a clear sign of what's the next step to take. You're not asking, you're just saying, I want a clear next step. You see how that's very clear? You're telling your intuition, you're telling the divine, you're being one with the all and saying, I want a clear sign that I'm going in the right direction. And if you're not sure, you can ask, okay, I think this may have been an indicator that I'm supposed to do this. I want another sign to confirm. Or I want 2 funny signs. I've done that before. I'm like, I want 2 signs and I want them to be funny. And sometimes you'll get them right away. Sometimes you'll get them, you'll be driving in your car and you'll see a ridiculous billboard, or you'll see either a driver's, like a license plate or a sticker on somebody's bumper, and you're like, oh my gosh, I could not be making this up. This is insane. And it happened. These are the different ways that you'll have these things that will begin to pop up. So is that clear, or do you need more clarification on that, Karen?
Or is it kind of like commanding? Let's say, going back to the example of a home.
Yeah.
It's going to be my home. This is my home.
Mm-hmm.
4 bedroom, 4 bath, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I want a clear sign of the next step. Is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. If you want a clear sign that you're moving in the right direction, you can ask for a sign. You can ask for signs at any time whenever you're using your intuition. And your intuition will give you signs. There's no question about it. The thing is, are you paying attention to the signs? And if you are not sure about a sign, then ask for confirmation. It's like, okay, I need a sign to come to me in a way that I'll know without a shadow of a doubt. And then you let it go, and then watch it pop into your experience. It could be the same. It could be seconds after. You may get a phone call, you may get a text message, you may get, it's impossible. The possibilities of how it will come to you is infinite. There's no limit. So the thing is, once you've asked, you've pointed your laser beam, because that's what your consciousness is. Your consciousness is like a floodlight. And we're used to having our floodlight just be all over the place. And so now you're focusing it. And so now you're using it with intention, and now you're giving it the commands. It's like, okay, this is the target. This is what I want. I need confirmation. I need a sign to move in a direction, a sign as to what to do next. I need a sign, should it be here? Should it be, in a different look? Should I be even thinking of maybe out of this town? Maybe I shouldn't even stay in the same town. Maybe I should be looking in a different town. Whatever it is that you want, you put it as a target, and then just ask for a sign. You're saying, okay, I know. And once you ask for the sign, you know that the sign is coming. There's no question about it. And now as things start to happen, then anytime you have question, at the beginning you'll ask for more confirmation, but over time then you'll stop asking for like another sign, to confirm, because you're just going to know. Your intuition will start to get so fine-tuned that your need for that clarification won't be as necessary. But at the beginning, when you're testing your intuition every day, you're choosing every day to pay attention to your intuition and notice. Your intuitions are really like how you feel inside your body really is an indicator of of where you are vibrationally, and things that you move towards things that feel good to you, and you move away towards things that feel bad. And so I do talk about that a little bit in the book, but does that clarify it, or do you need further clarification? Okay. Does anybody else have questions? That's a big one, because a lot of people sometimes think it's like, well, I'm just going to leave it to God's will. And the thing is, the number one thing the divine, our creator, the great I am, God, has given us is free will. So as a 3D human being, you have the free will to use your consciousness however you choose. And that divine force is so powerful and loves us so much that it would never override your free will. So if you just say, if you're just open to it, it's like, well, I'm not going to pick anything. I'm just going to let, whatever the will of God is. Well, it's like there's so many infinite possibilities that's why oftentimes nothing happens and you just have a state of peace. You have to choose. You're the one who has to take responsibility so that you're able to respond with ability. You're responding, choosing what it is that you want. In the book, I know I talk about the word desire. Desire, if you break down that word, sire is to father, right? Like you have a horse, you sire a horse. De means of in Latin. So de, sire, desire, it's of the Father. Whatever desires you have in your heart. Maybe your desire is to be, maybe you would like to earn a living as an artist, or as a musician, or as a sculptor, or some other kind of creative endeavor. Maybe as a writer. Maybe, there's so many different professions that people think, oh, I could never make a living. I would love to do X, Y, Z, but I don't see how you can. And inevitably, like I remember several years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, there was this attorney out of San Diego, California, who had a passion for Legos. And he was, ever since he was a child, he was obsessed with doing Legos. And he showed one of his corporate clients a fairly large Lego piece that he did. And they said, well, where did you get that? And he said, well, I create these. This is my hobby. I do this in my spare time. They're like, well, we'd like to hire you we want to put something, we'd like to commission you to create that for our lobby of our corporate offices. Would that be a possibility? And that was one of his dreams. But he never thought that he could make a living playing with Legos or have anybody pay him for that. Well, believe it or not, he ended up moving to New York, and he ended up building Legos. That's what he does for a living to this day. He makes, oh, I need to plug in this. My battery's getting low. I apologize. Give me just a brief moment. So he makes far more now building Legos, like huge Legos for corporations. So he basically creates Legos, does Lego structures and sculptures, but they're enormous and they cost an arm and a leg. And that's what he does for a living now. And he gets paid far more than he ever did. As an attorney, he got paid very handsomely, but he's paid far more now as a creative than he ever did as an attorney. So that just goes to show you, it's like, it's unbelievable what people can earn a living at. So you just have to choose, and people will want to pay for your creative, inspired genius, because every single one of us has a genie inside of us that's waiting to come out. That's what the word genius means. It's the genie in us. It's the magician, the manifester. I like to say that the word magic is an acronym for manifesting according to God's infinite creation. And we are all here to create. Everybody creates. Children create, adults create. We're creating all the time. Whether we're willing to acknowledge it or not is a different story, but we're all creatives. So yeah, we can manifest whatever it is that we choose. We just have to choose. But if we don't choose, then we stay in a state of peace. Some people don't even stay in a peace because they're still struggling against, they're not liking what it is that they do for a living, and they're struggling trying to make, doing a bunch of stuff that they procrastinate because they really don't like it. And so that's a lot of energy. You know, it's like you only have a certain number of motivational units and energy units in order to pull things off. And you're wasting, it's kind of like operating with, if you had a gas tank, oh my gosh, especially now with gas being as expensive, but think about how egregious it is if you were to drive your car and if there were a tiny little hole in your gas tank, how gas is leaking out of your car, and instead of you being able to use 100% of what you paid for gas, now let's say 25% of it is left on the floor, and it's also creating a mess for others because it's like instead of your vehicle being able to burn that energy and use it to get you to where you want to go, you're creating a mess behind you because everywhere you go you're leaving gasoline, petrol on the floor. Well, it's not good for you, and it's not good for your car, and it's not good for the environment, and it's not good for anybody who's driving past that. But that's in essence what you're doing when you're in dissonance with whatever it is that you're doing for a living. That's what you're doing. You have things that you procrastinate, you put off, you don't do them because they're not aligned with you, and you're fighting yourself. And so if you can start to make adjustments so that I know that it's not that easy because I've been there in the past where I had things where it was just, they just take energy away from you. And it's like you avoid putting them off and you have this huge to-do list and it doesn't feel good. But once you start to put the intention, it's like, you know what, I don't know how to navigate making that leap or making that adjustment. But I've had people that I've actually witnessed who very quickly, in a very short period, we're talking a really short period of time, like less than a month, they set a certain intention, and some of them got fired, some of them got promoted, some of them got promoted to another business altogether that was a different arm of the same company that they didn't even know that company owned other companies. It's crazy how different things happen. But you have to set the intention. If you're willing to stay in that state of dissonance and not being satisfied, it's your free will. You get to choose. Okay? Anybody else have another question or comment? Okay, I'm going to go to some of the frequently asked questions.
I was wondering, at what point do you want to see the keys or the whatever else was in the books?
Yes. So some of you received keys, some of you received tokens. So if you have a key or a token, hold them up. And those of you who've received keys or tokens, you're going to be receiving one of the Intuition Manifesto meditations complimentary. So, oh, and you got a key, Terry. Cool. Okay, cool. So very awesome, very awesome.
My token is in the car. It's in my coat pocket.
So if you don't have it with you, I should have told you guys to bring your keys or your tokens to this class. You can always bring it next week. In the interim, you could just take a picture of yourself holding the token or the key, and maybe you can show your book too, and then just go to my Facebook wall, and then of course, since you put it on my wall, I'll be notified of it, and then I will go ahead and you'll get a link to the Intuition Manifesto meditation. Okay? Very cool. So let me see if I can pull up here the FAQs. It's my other screen. Here we go. Okay. So
Before you start doing the FAQs, I can make a comment.
sure.
So I have been carrying this book with me. Like, it is in my bag, so it goes with me everywhere I go. And I was telling Juanito that last night. I said I carry it everywhere, and like I did actually. You said it, but I didn't intend to carry it everywhere. But every time I leave, I end up sticking it in my bag.
That's funny.
And you know, and sometimes I'm like, how did that get in there? I set it on a desk. I ended up sticking it in my bag. So I thought that was really great because the intention is there, and I every time I touch it, every time I put my hand in my bag, I always remember to be to tap in when I'm frustrated or upset or not upset, and I just need to know something. So it's really amazing to have around. And sometimes I flip it open, like you said, and I look for things when I need answers, and sometimes they're there. So
That's awesome. That's wonderful to hear, Lauren. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. Yeah, and I
my
didn't know
pleasure.
that Juan had got the book, so that's cool to hear. I'd love
Yeah,
to hear his perspective too. So
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, there's an interesting energy that was infused in that book. So it's exciting all to hear the different stories from different people from everywhere. It's really very, very quite cool. So I'm going to start off with the first most frequently asked question because I get asked this a lot. It's like, exactly what is your intuition? It's like we've everyone has heard about intuition. We hear about the sixth sense, but it's such a like ethereal thing. People like want to know. It's like I'm not really even sure that I have intuition or that I know what it is. I think it just eludes me, and so I do talk about what intuition is in the book, but I wanted to let you guys know we're going to answer it tonight. And on the Intuition Manifesto website, we're going to be launching that website in the next 48 to 72 hours. You guys are going to be the first to know about it. There is going to be a frequently asked questions section where we have the most commonly asked questions. And as people continue to ask questions, we'll continue to add them to that section. But the first one is, what is your intuition? So your intuition is your ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning, and a thing that is known to you, or it's coming from a deep place of knowing, and it's an instinctive feeling rather than a conscious reasoning. So it's not something that's reliant on your experience, on your past memories. It's not reliant on your book knowledge, whatever education that you have. It's coming from a different place entirely. And so there's a different sensation about your intuition. One of the things as we're moving forward through the Intuition Manifesto Master Classes is we're going to be playing with comparing and contrasting what you like, certain things that are facts, like things that you know without a shadow of a doubt that you don't have to prove, and then things that you don't know, and then the distinctive feeling that you have between the two. And so, for example, like everybody knows what a cell phone feels like, right? So that's pretty clear, and you have a sense of knowing, like without even looking at it, you would know, oh, I'm touching this thing. Oh, I could tell that's a case. I could tell that's a cell phone. I could tell by the weight. I could tell by about the size. Yeah, that's a cell phone. There are other things that you don't know, and so now there's more question there. There are things that someone will give you, and they'll give it a wrong label, and as you hold it, you're going to go, that's not right. And when you pay attention to the feeling when you are right about something as opposed to you're being wrong about something, there's going to be little tests that we're going to do that sometimes there's subtle nuances. And some people will have, every single time they have an intuitive hit, I kid you not, they'll have a little buzzy feeling at the tip of their nose. Other times, they don't have it. But sure enough, if they're in the middle of a conversation and now they're getting an intuitive hit to either say something or to comment about something or to bring up or ask about something, they'll get a little buzzy feeling on their nose. There's one lady I knew who she would get like a pinch in her left toe. I thought that's so unusual, a pinch in your left toe. Other people will have, like I call it the God feeling, where it's like you have this vibrational, like humming, kind of an electric low hum. THX sound is probably the best way to describe it, which may or may not include the chills. Sometimes it's just heat, but it's like a vibrational, like zzz. And it's like, oh, I know when I feel that feeling to pay close attention to whatever it is that I'm discussing here. I'm on the right track. Sometimes I'm led to say something. Sometimes I'm told just to not say anything at all. So I'm paying closer attention when I have that sensation as that takes place. So your intuition is I want to say it's a vibration, but I don't want to have people think that you're necessarily going to have your body vibrating, because not everybody's body is quite literally different, as different as our thumbprints are. So you have a soul print, you have a thumbprint, and your vibrational print of how you scent and you intuit things is going to be different from the person, next to us. Some people, they always hear, or they might hear and see things. Or some people will just have a deep sense of knowing. They don't really see any pictures, or they don't see any color. They don't really hear voices. They just have a deep sense of knowing. They just know that they know that they know. And so you'll be able to refine and define this as we go throughout our class. And so it is a sixth sense. It's a clairvoyance, a clairaudience, a claircognizance. Some people I'm not too crazy about the word divination, but some people call it, a divination, which is just you're connecting to the divine. But I know that there's a certain connotation to divination, which is not, it in some circles has a negative connotation, in others it doesn't. So, but that gut feeling, the hunch, funny feeling, sometimes for some people they will describe it as a funny feeling, but it's a very distinct feeling. So you need to just pay attention to how it is that your body is wired, and then you could put the target that you're going to intend as you're in your right mind. You're intending to fine tune your intuition so that so that sensation, you could tune it up. We will do some processes where you actually turn the volume up, turn the vibration up, turn the color up inside your inner mind's, let's call it your CPU, so that it's more evident and more obvious to you, and you'll have a more clear distinction as opposed to your linear analytical thinking brain, because that's really what you're doing, is you're learning to separate the two. On the homepage of Love and Money Secrets TV, the opening introductory video, I talk about the distinction between the ego, your brain, and your consciousness. And that is, I think, one of the most, I wish that they would teach children this. Children are such great manifestors, because there's very little resistance in their beings, when they're under the age of 7 or 8. As they continue to progress up, then we develop more of an ego. You start to get out of the theta brainwave state, and then you go more into, depending on, how calm or how conflictive your home environment is, you might be low beta, you might be high beta, depending on that. But the bottom line is that as we progress in age, then our ego and our brain becomes more predominant. And one of the things that we tend to do is that we, without exception, without cause, we always default to going to our ego and our brain, and we use our education, our experience, our memories to make decisions for everything that's going on until we have a crisis or until we have an emergency. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh God, dear, help me. And now you're willing to let go of that momentarily because you're in such desperation. You're willing to let go and surrender because all the toiling with your left brain hasn't been working, and it's gotten you to this point where you're in a jam. And now you're like, either you're giving up or you're like, throw me a lifeline. This is like, I don't know what to do. It's like, I'm like stuck. And now you go into your right brain and you slow yourself down, and you're willing to accept, receive and surrender in your right mind, but you're using that situationally. And part of what I'm here to share with you guys is that we've got to flip that formula. This was given to me in a meditation. I was like tripping out when I saw this, like, it wasn't like fire, it was like electricity, like this energy of this infinity, this infinity symbol. And so if you look here, Let me put here. So when you're in your left brain, that is your ego, your brain. Usually we tend to use our whatever our experience, whatever our book knowledge is, whatever our memories are, to take care of everything without exception. And then, like I said, when you get in a jam, now you're willing to go to your right mind. And I've been talking about this more and more lately, where it's like, our language is a clue. We talk about, oh, that person went postal, they went postal with their spouse and beat them all up, and now they're in jail. It's like, who in their right mind would do that? Somebody went postal literally at the post office and injured a bunch of people. Who in their right mind would do that? Well, the answer is nobody in their right mind would do that. Only somebody who's lost their mind and isn't in their right mind, not connected to the divine, not connected to the infinite source of intelligence, to the all, to God Almighty. Only someone out of their right mind would do that. So what was revealed to me was that we're supposed to flip it around. And instead of without exception going to the left brain and mind, and then situationally going to the right mind, we're supposed to flip it around. You're supposed to be in the right mind all the time. And when you're in your right mind, now you have a fire hose of inspiration. If I were to show you guys, I go through I buy more 3x5 cards than anybody I know. I go through these, like I was just telling my designer today, I was like, oh my gosh, and my daughter, I go through these Sharpie pens, they wear out, and it's like, but I write a lot of stuff on 3x5 cards, but I'm in that right brain flow quite a bit. So sometimes it's like drinking out of a fire hose. That's what it was like writing. I didn't plan on writing this book. This book came out like a fire hose unexpectedly on a Thursday night from 10 o'clock at night till 7:45 in the morning. It was like boom. And it was a blast. It felt like it was 15-20 minutes long. I still don't know how I sat so many hours, because I cannot sit that many hours. I normally have to get up to go to the bathroom. My back gets achy. But when I was in that creative flow, and when I'm in that creative flow, I can go on and on and on. And so when you're in your right mind, guess what? Things happen at a quantum pace. Now, you don't have to effort. You don't have to work. You don't have to make anything happen, because it's all being made known to you in the now. You just have to now do something with it. Take inspired action. The first inspired action I would encourage all of you to do, and you don't have to do anything you don't want to. Again, you don't have to do anything at all. You could let it go in one ear, out the other, never to be heard of again. But what I recommend that people do is, as soon as you hear a good idea, something you're like, oh, that sounds like a good idea, or ooh, I would really love to have XYZ, and as far as I know, this doesn't exist in the marketplace. Write it down. If you don't have a piece of paper to write it down, text it to yourself. Text it to yourself. You can always look at it later. But write it down. Get it out of it being in the 5D realm, in the above, and take it down to below, because your writing it down is the second level of manifestation. The third level of manifestation will be taking it from that point. Then your target is, it's like, okay, what do I need to know next in order to move this forward? That's your clear target. Boom. Who would be the best person that I could bounce this idea off of, or ask questions about, or who might have a notion as to what's a good source for me to develop this into something tangible? And then let it go. Boom. Next thing you know, somebody's name will pop into your head. Somebody will call you and mention something. You're like, oh my gosh, I just had this idea. It's right along the lines of what you're just talking about. Who do you know that could create blah, 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 blah? That's how this works. But you're staying in your right mind. Something that would normally take you 2, 3, 4 years to do. Just like April in the book. She went from $9 an hour to $9 million in a year. She went from selling cosmetics at a retail counter You guys have read the story or are about to read it or are in the midst of reading it. But she was in her right mind. Her whole story was everything. All these things that were coming to her, none of them made sense. They made zero. If you go to rationalize, you rationalize, that's the deal breaker. That is the death of that inspiration. That's the death of that idea. That's not how you're supposed to use the intelligence that you have. Everyone on this call, you have way above average intelligence, way above average intelligence. So when you stay in your right mind, because you're getting a packet of quantum flow information that's musing through you, guess what? You only have to do a light little touch with the brilliance of the genie that you are, the genius, intelligence that you have. You just need a little tweak here, like 1, 2, 3 soft little touches, and whoosh, it takes off. And then as you continue to stay in that right mindedness, going, oh my gosh, that was a lot, that it's like maybe it was a little bit, maybe it was a little bit more, maybe it was a whole bunch of stuff that came out. Maybe you find yourself, you're writing a whole bunch of other stuff. You're like, I'm not even sure what I wrote. Stay in that place. The more space you create in your day-to-day, you schedule, everyone has a morning routine. Everybody schedules to take a shower, take a bath, brush your teeth, wash your face, get ready, X amount of time. Schedule that space of time that you're just going to be allowing yourself. And the thing is, you'll find that it'll start to bleed over into all areas of your life where before you know it, if that's your intention, which, as you know, I talk about, an intention is your inward attention. If it's your intention that you want to live in a right-minded place, if you want to be in that intuitive flow where things are coming through to you, then you're going to notice that you're going to no longer need to-do lists. You're no longer going to be compulsively scheduling things maniacally. No, because you're going to be more of in that flow state. And so, but to do that, you have to be in your right mind, and you have to start somewhere. So you've already, obviously, you were looking to up level your intuition. You guys who read this book, you guys don't realize it, but you asked and you received what you were asking for. And I was the path of least resistance, where it wanted to come through me. I allowed it to come through. I could have just written it and not published it. Terry knows. She's one of the few people who knows how long it took for this to actually get into paperback form. Because it was like, oh my gosh, it took kind of a long time, didn't it? It took so fast to write. The formatting and designing and all that even didn't take that long. But it kind of took a while for it to finally get to paperback. And like I said, I'm still waiting for the hardcover, but I have nothing to do with that now. Now it's just a matter of the stuff shipping to me. But you were the energetic force you were asking for certain things, and I was the open and cleansed vessel. And I'm not giving myself a pat in the back. I was just simply non-resistant because I had chosen years before to test my intuition. In 2019, I talk about that. I decided, okay, I am going to test every single day in 2019. This is my mission. I want to have crystal clear evidence of my testing my intuition every single day. And 2019 was the year of magic. It is still the most, although this year might surpass it, but that I still am calling it the year of magic. That was absolutely insane, the amount of manifestations that I had. And I had the good fortune and the blessing that I was outside of my familiar environment a great deal of the time. So I was forced to even rely on my intuition even greater because my surroundings weren't familiar. And the good old Google GPS, as good as it might be in the States, it's not as reliable in Europe. There are streets that are thousands of years old, some that are hundreds of years old, and some of them that are brand new streets. Some of the streets that Google tells you to go down, you go there, and there's like a big cornfield. There's like, it's supposed to be Via Antica, and it's like, no one's getting through unless you're willing to move the corn to the right and to the left. There's no, I don't know how people are going to get through there, but that ain't happening. So sometimes there's bodies of water where they allegedly have a street. So when you're in an unfamiliar place, if you guys like right now, I think Jan is traveling in was it Puerto Vallarta, she said? I think she said it was Puerto Vallarta, right? So she's obviously in a,
That was me, Jennifer. I'm traveling.
okay, Jennifer, you're the one who's traveling in Puerto Vallarta. Yeah. So yeah, you're in an unfamiliar place. So you have, it's like, yeah, you can test your intuition as you're going. It's like as you feel, one restaurant versus the other. You can easily pick a great restaurant and you could pick a restaurant that's absolutely abysmal, like terrible. As you pay attention to your intuition and just trust your intuition as to what taxi, not all taxi cab drivers are the same anywhere you go on the planet. Some of them are really cool. Some of them are so really not so cool at all. True story. I'm going to share with you. I needed to use Uber instead of my car. I don't know if my car was getting serviced or for some reason I didn't have my car accessible and I had to take an Uber. And this happened in, I want to say, this was actually in 2019 now that I think about it. Yeah, it was 2019. It was before I left, before I went to like the 10 different countries. And the Uber driver, this particular Uber driver, as soon as she came in, I had a funny vibe about her as soon as she pulled up. And so I have this thing about my ego prides itself in not being judgmental towards other. I really like to offer people grace and the benefit of the doubt. So nonetheless, this girl pulls up and I had a funny vibe and I'm like, oh, I didn't want to be judgy over her. So I'm like, not a big deal. I didn't heed that attention to that intuition. I noted it, but I didn't keep myself from getting in. As soon as I got into the car, that feeling was pronounced. So as you began to talk, I heard something is wrong. Get out of the car. And I thought, oh crap. Now I'm hearing something is wrong. Get out of the car. So she gets off of the street that I lived on. She went onto the main street, and I kid you not, she did not go more than 200 or 300 yards. And I said, I'm sorry, you have to pull over right away. This has to stop now. She says, what's wrong? I said, I'm sorry, I cannot go any further. I knew that if I stayed in the car with her, there was a good possibility that I was going to be in an accident with her. And I knew to get out of the car. And I wasn't about to wait and find out to prove my intuition. So I got out of the car. I said, I'm sorry, I have to cancel this Uber. I will pay you for this distance, but we got to cancel this. So I canceled it. She was none too happy. But you know what? I'm responsible for me and my well-being. And I clearly had a very strong gut feeling, an intuitive hit. I heard something is wrong. And I heard that I was basically in danger. And so I got out of the car and then I called another Uber. 3 minutes later, another Uber came in. Wow, what a difference in energy. Immediately, the guy who I had that came up, much better vibe. That guy had there was a lot of serendipity that was going on with him, which was a confirmation to me that I was right on track. Because it's like, oh my goodness. It's like there was just a lot of serendipity. I don't remember right now what his name, but everything from his name to the number sequence on his license on his car, and then our conversation. I thought, oh my gosh, it's like an instant reward for listening to my intuition. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. So I was like, whoa, the disparity between the two was so pronounced. Now, had I stayed in that car, I'm sure something bad would have happened because I heard that something was wrong and that I needed to get out. But do you really need to wait until something bad happens? Do you really need to be proven? Why not be proven with your intuition on the positive rather than on the negative? So I know now enough to not wait till something worse potentially happens. I don't need to verify bad things to know that my intuition is working. But I did have confirmation as soon as the next Uber driver came. So this can be with anything, guys. You might hire 3 contractors to come give you estimates on your home. Maybe you have 3 plumbers. And maybe the first plumber that shows up, you have a really great feeling about this person. You feel like a certain lightness about them. You look at the number. You don't know if the number is high or low because you've never had an estimate before. And maybe the next person comes in and maybe they're like way lower. And maybe your brain's going, oh, you should go with this one because this is like way cheaper than the next one. But there's something about this guy that you can't pinpoint. And you're like, you know what? There's something shifty about this guy. I don't know if it's because he won't look me in the eye, or maybe because he's doing a stare down. You know, he's doing this stare down that's kind of intimidating, or he's kind of cocky, whatever. But you're like, he's so much less. It's like, do I really want to pay $800 more and go with the first guy just because I think he's got a more shining personality? Maybe I should go, maybe, you know, gosh, I really can't afford, you know, that price difference. You know what? You go with that second guy. Maybe the third guy is in between the two. You go with the second guy, and it turns out that guy doesn't finish the job. He charged you the entire amount up front. Now you can't get any plumber to come back and come fix that because they don't want to be responsible from the work of another plumber. Now what could have cost you, what the first guy charged you, is going to cost you 3 times as much. Plus, you have a mechanics lien that you have to remove from your house that you didn't anticipate. You had no idea that some plumbers will put a mechanic lien on your house before they begin work, just like contractors do. What a mess. And if you would have just paid attention to your intuition, that you had a good gut feeling about this guy, as opposed to the second one versus the third one, you could have avoided all that morass, all of that grief. And that there is no experience is ever wasted. That was there to teach you what that feeling is like that gives you that kind of outcome versus the positive feeling that you have when you have a strong intuitive hit and you have that download, you have that gut feeling, that light airiness. You see, it's just like a good-hearted feeling that you don't have perhaps with others. And that is a calibration. It's a subtle, I mean, now to me it doesn't seem so subtle, but I think when you first embark on testing your intuition every day, it seems like, oh, it's so subtle. What's subtle is how your brain tries to rationalize, because we're so used to rationalizing. And when you rationalize, you're rationing, you're putting out a portion of lies and you're feeding it back to yourself to justify why you should XYZ. But you don't realize that that's what you're doing. And so once you recognize, oh, wait a minute, that's a futile exercise that doesn't serve me, let me hit the pause button on that. Maybe if I just slow down my breath here, and that's all it takes, my friends and gems, slowing down your breath, 3 breaths. Doesn't have to take 15 minutes, 10 minutes, no. Just slow down your breath, slow down your heart rate, slow down your brain waves, slow and easy, easy peasy. And just choose to send and direct blood flow to your right mind, because you want to be in your right mind. You want to have that right brain flowing blood. And then as you calm yourself down, then your mind is clear and the answers and what you need to do next becomes very clear, because you get centered in that place of just doing that simple calming yourself down before you take that next step. Okay? Let's see. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to go on to the next FAQ, unless somebody has a question. Let's see, yeah.
I have
Sorry,
one.
you have a question, go ahead.
Yeah. I sometimes have a hard time differentiating between my intuition and when I have a freeze response from past trauma.
Okay, so when you have a freeze response from past trauma, that is simply unresolved emotions that are still lodged in your body. You still have the memory in your left brain, and then the vibrational frequency is still in your body from that experience. But the fact that you're aware that you have that emotional trigger and that trauma is the first step to your basically resolving and dissolving it. So as you're aware, you can do the PSMO method. I believe I can send that to you. That's also going to be on the Intuition Manifesto website. If you go to Love and Money Secrets TV, you can pull up the PSMO, just on YouTube, just go PSMO method. You'll see a playlist of, I think 4 or 5 videos under the PSMO. But that's a 3-minute process where you can eliminate that in 3 minutes. And the fact is that you're recognizing that you have that freeze response. All you have to do is focus on the breath. And when I say focus on the breath, I always like to give people specific instruction and tell them just take 3 long, slow inhales and hold as long as you can, that's comfortable, and then exhale. And just doing that, it doesn't matter if when you're holding your breath, like you inhale maybe to a count of, let's say 8, and then maybe you're holding to a count of 10 or 12, and then you exhale to a count of 8 again, and maybe hold to a count of 4. It doesn't matter what the count is. I count myself, when I do it, I count. I like seeing how much longer, because sometimes as you do more and more breaths, you'll notice that your hold period, because your oxygenation and you're offloading carbon dioxide as you're exhaling. So then you're getting more oxygen deeper and cleansing the bottom of your lungs with oxygen, so you're able to hold for longer periods of time. So you'll notice that there's a certain amount of change in the lengths of time that you can inhale longer, maybe more counts, hold longer, and then exhale, etc. But the bottom line is that you're starting already to clear yourself and center yourself, and that's the first step to resolving and dissolving this. So you're aware of that, so then once you do that, then you're able to get into that place where you can listen to your intuition, and then just trust what it is that whether you hear it, whether you see it, whether you just know it. It could be that you may even see like a series of pictures, or maybe you have an energy that you're able to have a knowing as to what that energy feels like. I cannot emphasize enough how every single human being on the face of this earth, our first language was not whatever our mother tongue, whatever language our parents spoke. Our first language is vibration. When you were in the womb, you felt vibrations based on your mother's emotional response. So if she was happy, she was giving you an oxytocin bath, and you were in there feeling light energy, and you're feeling happy, and all of a sudden if somebody slammed the door, maybe it wasn't that anybody slammed the door, maybe all of a sudden a wind just burst through the windows, and there was a door that was somewhat open, and it slammed shut because of the vacuum that it created inside the house, and now your mom went, wah! The baby, you, inside your mother's womb, you felt the tension. You felt the adrenaline, the cortisol bath that your mother's brain is now putting through all her bloodstream that's going in through you into your umbilical cord and bathing your entire body now. You're like, ooh, this doesn't feel so good. You may have kicked or punched her or moved around and tried to maybe resituate yourself inside her womb because you're like, something's like, this just doesn't feel so good. It's like kind of a heavier, and maybe her belly is, still kind of tensed up over that fight or flight response that she had. So your first language was vibration. So we all know how to interpret verbal and vibrational frequencies, So even if you don't know exactly a word that is the perfect descriptor, you can put a series of words together that will be close enough, that will come close to what it is that you're sensing and feeling. And it's just you with your own thoughts. And then you can even say them out loud. It's like, gee whiz, this kind of feels like, if I pay attention to how I'm feeling it and sensing it, it feels like, and then you can start to give language, which you can assign a meaning to. Then you can start to sort, sift, and separate and kind of figure out, okay, wait a minute, yeah, I can tell that this is a fear response that I'm having. So if it's a fear response, that's automatically from ego. You know that. It's like ego. That's your left brain memory. It's pulling something up here. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put that on pause. And I'm intending to pause. And reach over here. Sorry about that. This is farther back than I anticipated. And I like to use this. For a long time, I only bought one of these because I do these classes. But in my mind's eye, for a long time, I just had an image of this in my head. And I would go,
that was easy.
I own one too.
I'd go, ego, time out. And I would hear, that was easy in my head. And then I would go, brain, do as I say. Because brain, I'm giving the brain the command. I am now taking the ego and the brain. You two monkeys have been the co-pilots. You guys have been chairman of the board of me for way too long. And I had no idea. This was a default setting. I inadvertently had it set this way. Now that I'm aware, it's like, wait a minute, you've been demoted. And instead of you using me, I'm going to use you now. Now I know how to use my ego. So ego, you stand in timeout. Brain, you do as I say. And now I'm going to get in my right mind. I'm going to direct. There's times where I'm going to want to direct blood flow to my right and my left brain. But as I'm trying to increase my intuition, I want to increase my blood flow to the right side of my brain because I'm trying to increase my intuitive capabilities. And I want that to be strengthened. And I want to know that I know that I know, just as I know that I am a girl. Just as I don't need to prove to anyone that I'm sitting down on a chair right now, because I know that I'm sitting on a chair, and you could be the best debater and you could argue how you can redefine what standing or sitting is and try to convince me otherwise, and I'm going to smile. I'm going to go, I just don't care about your debate, your arguments, because I know that I'm sitting down. And even if you want to change the definitions for legal purposes or whatnot, do whatever you want. I don't care. I know what I know. And I know that I'm a girl. I don't need a DNA test to prove that I'm a girl. You're going to have that same sense of knowing with your intuition. And whenever you do have any kind of uncertainty, you will know what to do in order to calibrate yourself to up the certainty. Does that help, Terry, or do you need further clarification?
No, that's great. Thank you. I love the visual too of the things on your head and taking them off and saying, I demote you.
That's how I saw it in my head. It's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not even know. Like forever, I didn't know that they were they were both chairman of the boards. And it was like a default mode. I'm like, it's like your computer coming with all these defaults. It's like, no. Yeah, this is how maybe Apple gave me the computer, but these are the defaults that I want. These are the programs. I don't want these to go launch. It's a waste of my energy. No, these are the programs that I want to be activated every time I turn on my computer, but I'm choosing it. I'm not letting Apple, their default modes, And so that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
I do have to go, but I so appreciate this. Has just been like gold. You're brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. We're going to go over a few more of these questions, and so you guys can obviously, catch the replay of this as well. The next question.
Lillian, where is the replay? Because I have to go too. It's pretty late here.
Okay, the replay is going to be, we're going to have it on the Intuition Manifesto website, and this first one we're going to have also on my YouTube channel. So
Okay.
I will be able to make this link available to you guys sometime later tonight. And then I will text you guys individually. Let me make sure. I'll text you guys individually and make sure that you have the Facebook group link so that you can join that. And in the Facebook group, I will put the replay for this class. Okay?
That's beautiful. I enjoyed tonight very much. So I look forward to next and next. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Elena.
Bye, everybody.
I need to get my sleep for tomorrow.
Okay.
Love you. Very lovely.
Well, I'm glad that you guys were able to come to Karen. Let's see, it's, I think an hour. Yeah, we're almost at the hour and a half mark.
It's okay.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is I'm going to leave the rest of the FAQs for the next Q&A session. So we'll wrap it up for today, and that way it's still a manageable size also for it to be uploaded to YouTube. But thank you guys for tuning in, tapping in, turning on to the first Intuition Manifesto Q&A Masterclass. It's been a joy having you here, and I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Ciao for now, my friends and gems. Love you.
Thank you.